What's up guys, I'm BTC. Several new comps have gained a lot of popularity, both involving Orisa. Let's take a look at why these comps are so strong. By now, I'm sure most people are pretty sick of seeing GOAT's comp almost all the time. It looks like this might still continue at the highest levels of pro play in the Overwatch League, but in the lower leagues and on the competitive ladder, some other comps have started to take root. Here's a quick look at the most played characters in the upper bracket on the competitive ladder. The Orisa and Roadhog tank combo is right there at the top. Mercy has also made a resurgence along with Hanzo and Widowmaker. I talked about that double sniper comp a little bit back in a previous video. Something absolutely astounding that I wanted to show you is right here. Torbjorn has risen up the ranks a little bit, and he isn't super high on the pick rate, but right now running about middle of the pack. This is largely due to the massive amount of Orisa play that we've been seeing, but take a look at this. Brigitte now has a lower pick rate than Torbjorn. This is of course related to the decline in GOAT's comp because Brigitte just simply isn't all that good in a 2-2-2 lineup. So without that 3-3, people just aren't using her. Another character that's seen a small increase in pick rate is Mei. This has to do with the other Orisa comp that's becoming more popular. This is based off of a contenders team called Clockwork Vendetta. This comp uses Orisa, Roadhog, Mei, and Torbjorn, and then the other two characters will change depending on the map. The players in that team are essentially one-tricks, or at least heavily specialized in those particular characters. And when they put them together, it turns out that it worked quite well. And I do have to say, it's nice to see these previously unused and off-meta characters now finally getting some playtime. Well, except for you. Nobody's using you. Why not? Because you're just not a well-designed character. You have too many disadvantages. Look, I'm not saying this to be mean. This is the single most optimal situation for a Bastion to ever get used. There are multiple versions of Bunker Comp, and yet your pick rate is still at the very bottom across the board. You are the single least played character in the entire game, during a time when Bunker Comp is the most popular on the competitive ladder. Hey, don't get mad at me. I'm not the one who put you into the game like this. It's not my fault that even in Bunker Comp, almost any other DPS is a better choice. Yes, I have all the information I need to finish that Bastion rework video, and I will be releasing it soon, but I can't guarantee that Blizzard is actually going to make any of the changes. Alright, sorry for that interruption. Let's try to get back on track here. With the incredible popularity of Orisa on the competitive ladder, you might be wondering why we're still seeing GOAT's comp almost all the time in the Overwatch League. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First, those pro players have been using GOAT's comp for so long, over a year now, that they're extremely proficient at it. Even if another comp was stronger, those teams might have a better chance of winning a match by simply playing GOATs because it's something that they already know and they've been using for so long. Additionally, a highly coordinated pro GOATs comp will simply run over most Orisa comps on most maps. You may remember a little while ago there was a different variation of Orisa using Bastion and Symmetra. This was thought to be the ultimate GOATs counter. And while it was partially effective, it's been almost totally discarded at this point. Now, on the competitive ladder, Orisa is extremely strong because the barrier can be kept active almost always. The uptime for the Orisa barrier far exceeds the uptime of a typical Reinhardt barrier. Not only that, but when Orisa's barrier is up, she can continue to attack and help break the enemy player's barriers, whereas the Reinhardt is just kind of holding his barrier, and when it gets damaged, he has to move off to the side and let it recharge, thus having more downtime for your team and also opening up more vulnerabilities. Now, on a very coordinated team, an enemy barrier can get melted fairly quickly, but on the relatively uncoordinated competitive ladder, the lifetime of the Orisa barriers increases dramatically, and an Orisa can simply place a new one and not have to wait for it to recharge. That team gets a big advantage because of that, because they can continue to apply more pressure and they don't have to run and hide behind cover. Let's talk about the two different versions. The Hanzo and Widowmaker one is more popular, and it doesn't really need to break the enemy barrier. They simply go around it. Yes, you can have Orisa and Roadhog do that combo where they pull an enemy out of position, Roadhog hooks them, and then your team just destroys that player. But with Hanzo and Widowmaker, they don't really need to be coordinated with the rest of the team. They just kind of do their own thing, they get picks, and your team ends up winning the fight. That kind of situation where both your DPS don't really need to coordinate with anyone tends to work fairly well on the competitive ladder where coordination tends to be low. Now, in the other version, there's a lot of emphasis on coordination and destroying the enemy barrier. Roadhog, Orisa, Torbjorn, his turret, and a damage boost from Mercy, if you have one, allows that team comp to destroy the enemy barrier within seconds. So the same strategy with Halt and the Hook can be used in order to grab an easy kill, but Mei can also use her Ice Wall to separate the enemy team, allowing for an uneven team fight, and then it's just mopping up whoever happens to be left over. There are two other characters you would expect to see alongside Bunker Comp. One of them gets a little bit of use, and the other almost none at all, and that's going to be Symmetra and Bastion. Symmetra gets a little bit of use because you can use her on attack in order to teleport the entire rest of your team directly onto the point where you have a Mei who can now help control that area, and you can also set up that bunker there. But her mini sentries, the slowing effect isn't really needed because you have the Mei, and also when you're running a double sniper, well, the teleporters just aren't going to help them at all. So for the most part, Symmetra is only used when you're just trying to attack and get onto the point very quickly. But for Bastion, there's just no reason to use that character because Torbjorn is just better in almost every way. For Bastion, he just has too many weaknesses, and the primary one is that he's too stationary of a character. Yes, even in Bunker Comp, you need to have at least some kind of mobility. And I'm not talking about mobility like a dash or a leap or something, I'm talking about just moving around while you're attacking, and when you're in sentry form, you can't move around. Yes, you can switch out, but then the vast majority of your damage just goes away. Yes, he's really good at breaking barriers, but if you already have an Orisa, a Roadhog, a Torbjorn, and a Mercy who's providing damage boost, then that enemy barrier is going to get melted anyways. You don't need the Bastion to break it, because it's already happening very quickly. Not to mention the fact that all the enemy team needs to do is pick a Sombra, and then your Bastion is just completely shut down. However, if a Sombra hacks pretty much anyone else on the team, it's not really going to have that big of an impact. Yes, you can hack the Mei and prevent her from going in Ice Block, but if she's behind the Orisa barrier, then it's not really a big deal. And you can hack the Orisa, but if the barrier is already in place, well, it doesn't go away. So yeah, you can use the EMP to shut down that entire area, but I mean, that would happen with pretty much any comp no matter what. So as it turns out, Torbjorn is just a better pick than both Symmetra and Bastion. And the only time you're going to run Symmetra is when you need to get on the point quickly, you're going to sub out one of those healers and just run her instead. And that brings up another point, because most would think that Orisa Bunker Comp is only going to be good on defense, and that's just not the case. You can actually use it and be quite effective on attack as well. Of course, it's not going to work on every single map, but it's still a lot more effective than you might expect. If you're running the double sniper version, your Orisa and Roadhog apply pressure to the enemy front, giving your Hanzo and Widow an opportunity to get a pick on the enemy supports or their DPS, and once that happens, your entire team can move in. If you're running the Mei and Torbjorn version, there's several different ways that you can handle this. You can use the Ice Wall to just completely block off the defenders, allowing your team to move in and set up at a more advantageous position. Another way is to just simply destroy the enemy barrier. With an Orisa, a Roadhog, a Torbjorn, his turret, and again, that Mercy damage boost, you're going to melt that enemy barrier very quickly, and then Mei can just start freezing everyone, or you can use the Orisa hook combo with Roadhog and pull someone in, get that quick pick, all that sort of stuff, and then move in. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do it with that. But in either case, whatever strategy you end up using or what version of the comp, it can definitely be effective even on attack. A couple other things I want to put out there. There's no harm in trying either of these two comps on the competitive ladder. Don't immediately assume a game is lost just because you have double sniper or a Torbjorn on your team. But at the same time, I want you to realize that these are not automatic wins. Even if it's the strongest comp on the ladder right now, it doesn't guarantee that win. If you're trying either of these and it's not working, then you need to switch and try something else. Also, I'll probably put out another video discussing strategy on how to beat an enemy that's currently running a bunker comp, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.